Okay, good morning. We are continuing on Masechet Avodah Zarah, and we are on Daf Hey, Amud Aleph, 8 lines up from the wide lines. Amar Rish Lakish. This is still towards the end of the Agadic piece of the beginning of the Masechta, and today's Amud is being learned. L'zchut Yeshua ben Dina Diana, Yael bat Rivka, Menashe ben Asi, and for Aliyat Neshama of Tzipora bat Yitzchak. The Gemara says, Amar Rish Lakish, Bo'u v'nachzik tova l'avotenu, she'ilmale hen lo chat'u, anu lo banu le'olam. We spoke about Chet HaEgel. The last Agata piece that we had was about the 2 sins that were not supposed to happen, were not fit to have happened. And one of them was, the public one was, Chet HaEgel, the issue of golden calf. And now the Gemara says, Rish Lakish said, if it wasn't because of the Jews that sinned by Chet HaEgel, we would not have been here. Why is that? Why wouldn't you be here? Because apparently, the Gemara is going to understand it to mean that they would not have had kids, and hence we would not have been here. If they didn't have kids, we would not be here. So now that we are here, Baruch Hashem, we have to thank, in a strange way, our forefathers who sinned and hence gave us the platform of being here in this world. Now, you immediately will ask, wait a second, is it even good to be in this world? The Gemara says in Daf Yud Gimal, in Masechet Eruvin, that for years they debated, is it Noach la'adam shenivra, or is it Noach la'adam shelo nivra? Would have been better for a person to have been born, or maybe it would be better that a person would not have been born. It's a strange machloket, because you say, well, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it, let him do what he does best, and that is creating. So, what position are we in to say that maybe it's not better to have been born? But strangely, the Gemara says, Nimnu begamru, the decision was, Noach le'adam shelo nivra, would have much been better for a person to not have been created. V'achshav shenivra, and now that you are created, the Gemara says, you're here already, be very careful, yefashpesh b'ma'asav, you should be careful not to destroy the opportunity that has been given to you. Now, what's the core of the machloket? The core of the machloket is, when you're in this world, so you've been given Yetzer Hara, and now you have you're hanging in balance. If you do not do the mitzvot, then you destroy that neshama that you've been given, that potential that you have been given, the purity that you've been born with, and you're going to now get even much worse. But at the same time, if you win over and you become a tzaddik, then it's tremendous. But how many people are tzaddikim? What's the percentage? It's a very difficult thing to assess. And the Gemara says, therefore, it would have been perhaps better not to have even taken that chance that maybe you're going to mess over your opportunity and stray from the path of Hashem, and hence, Noach la'adam shelo nivra. But now that you are here, be very, very careful. But that's only conceptually, in the vacuum, whether or not it would have been better or not to have been created. But a tzaddik, a person that already has chosen his path and he has taken the path of Hashem, of course, Noach lo shenivra, of course it's good for him that he's here. And in a strange, ironic way, says Rish Lakish, we should be thankful for being here and having the opportunity to do the mitzvot. We should thank our avotenu, our forefathers who sinned by Chet HaEgel, hence we are here. But of course, this Gemara has a premise. The premise is that had they not have sinned, we would not be created, because they wouldn't have Peru Urvu, they would not procreate. So says the Gemara, before we challenge this, Shenemar, Ani amarti Elohim atchem, uvnei elyon kulechem. I said to myself, says Hashem, you are like malachim, uvnei elyon kulechem. But at the same time, chibaltem ma'asechem, you destroyed your actions Achen ka'adam temutun. You are going to end up dying like Adam Harishon did. So, says the Gemara, the Memra, you want to suggest, if they would not sin, they wouldn't have children? Is that what you're suggesting? Says the Gemara, v'haketiv, it says in the Pasuk, v'atem peru urvu. The first mitzvah of the Torah is, v'atem peru urvu. Umilu et haaretz v'kivshua. You should procreate. That's the first mitzvah. So, well, you want to suggest that the mitzvot of the Torah would not be applicable anymore? If they accepted the Torah and they wouldn't sin, then the mitzvot of the Torah would not be applicable? That's a strange thing to suggest. There's a mitzvah, peru urvu. So says the Gemara, at Sinai, that mitzvah of Adam Harishon was only until Har Sinai. But when they accepted the Torah, and they would be now perfect human beings, perfect creatures, the world would have come already to tikkun, and you don't need any more procreation. It would have been. This is what Gemara is answering now. The Gemara is going to fall off of this, but the Gemara is trying to understand and explain what we are thinking in Resh Lakish. So says the Gemara, but Sinai Nami, you can't say that, because even in Sinai, in Har Sinai, it says, Lech emor lahem, shuvu lachem, la'olechem. Last narrow line. We know that before Matan Torah, before Shavuot, it said, it was Shalosh Yemei Hagbala, 3 days that the Pasuk says, Al tikshu el ha'isha. People had to stay away and refrain from being with their wives. And says the Gemara, right after Matan Torah, it says, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Ata po ta'amod imadi, but right beforehand it says, Lech amor lahem. Hashem is very happy with the Jews. Says, I wish they could, maintain this amazing level that they have gotten until now, forever. And says now, Lech emor lahem, go tell them, Shuvu lachem la'olechem. Go back to your tents. And Rashi Chazal explained that he was telling them, go back to your wives. Now that you have abstained from your relationships, now after Matan Torah, you could go back to your wives. So says the Gemara, you see that even after Matan Torah, had they not sinned, Hashem commands them, go back to your wives. So you see that peru urvu was applicable. Not like you, that you just suggested that peru urvu was not a thing after Matan Torah, had they not sinned. This is after Matan Torah, before they sinned. And yet the Torah says, go back to your wives. How do you understand that? The Gemara says, there's no problem. Lesimchat ona. There are two parts of being married. It's not just for procreation. There's a chiyuv of ona. There's a chiyuv of being together, even without peru urvu. From here you see that the mitzvah of ona is even applicable. Ona means, literally translated, of course, means time, a set time. But that's based on the Mishnah in the 5th parak of Ketuvot that talks about the obligation of onatah lo yigra. One of the things that the Torah obligates a husband is to be there, not just financially and emotionally, but even physically for his wife, and it's onata lo yigra. And there are different times and different obligations based on the person's job and so on and so forth, which the Mishnah discusses in the 5th parak of Ketuvot. But nevertheless, the Gemara says it's simchat ona. It's the relationship of a husband and wife aside from the chiyuv of peru urvu. That means you can't prove that Hashem was telling them go back and have children. No, it's just saying go back to your regular marriage without the mitzvah of peru urvu, without peru urvu. Says the Gemara, you can't say that either. V'haketiv leman itav lahem ve'livnehem acharehem. The pasuk says, Mi yiten v'haya levavam ze lahem le'ira oti. This is the pasuk right after Matan Torah, when Hashem says, I wish that this, miten means I wish, or who would give, literally translated, who would give that this should be the reality, that they should have Yirat Shamayim as much as they have now, v'lishmor et kol mitzvotai kol hayamim, that they should keep my mitzvot kol hayamim, all of the days, lema'an yitav lahem, in order that it should be good for them. And what's the next word? V'livnehem le'olam, and their children forever. So well, this is a pasuk that Hashem tells Moshe right after Matan Torah. And it says, V'livnehem le'olam, their children forever. So you see that it seems like the pasuk suggests that they would have children, they would have had children even after Matan Torah. Says Gemara, no, nice try, but that's not muchach, that's not for sure. Le'otana omdim al Har Sinai. Children means the children that were children at the time of Matan Torah, already born. It's not suggesting necessarily that there will be new children born, but it's talking about the children who were kids at the time of Matan Torah. The Gemara says, still, V'ha'amar Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish himself says, My dichtiv, when the pasuk says, Zeh Sefer Toldot Adam, this is a pasuk that speaks in Perek Hey of Sefer Bereshit. It says, Zeh Sefer Toldot Adam biyom bero Elokim, Adam bidmut Elokim asa oto. This is the Sefer, the book of Toldot Adam, of the disciples of Adam, like Ele Toldot Noach, right? These are the children of Noach. So this is the book of the children of Adam. So this is B'yom Bero Hashem, in the day that Hashem created. What book are you talking about? Well, Adam Hashem wrote a book. What book is the pasuk talking about? So Resh Lakish explained, Resh Lakish himself. So V'chi Sefer Hayalo LaAdam HaRishon. Well, Adam HaRishon authored the book. Since when? And this is talking about the day of the creation. So what do you mean that Toldot Adam, the children of Adam, in the day that Hashem created? That's a very strange passage. It says, Resh Lakish, I'll explain to you what this means. Melamed sheher'alo HaKadosh Baruch Hu le'Adam HaRishon. Hashem showed Adam HaRishon in the very first day, Dor Dor v'Dorshav, Dor Dor v'Chachamav, Dor Dor u'Parnasav. Hashem showed, like a Sof Mahaseh b'Chashavat Techila. Hashem showed the entire history of the world to Adam HaRishon in the very beginning. He showed him every generation and generation, every generation and their dorshav. Does not mean people who darshin. It means doresh tov la'amo, like Mordechai HaTzadik. People who work on behalf of the leadership of the community. So the leaders, the main leaders of the community for every generation. Dor dor v'chachamav, the hachamim of every generation. Dor dor u'parnasav, the people who work on behalf of the community. So all of those, Hashem showed Adam HaRishon. Doesn't say Nevi'av, because Nevi'im were not in every generation, but these three are in every single generation. So says the Braita over here, Kevan she'giya ledorosh Rabbi Akiva. Once HaKadosh Baruch Hu got to the generation of Rabbi Akiva, Samach betorato v'nit'asef v'mitato. Adam HaRishon was very happy with the Torah of Rabbi Akiva, and he became very depressed, very saddened with the story of his death, his ending. Now, we had this before, we discussed it at the end of Masechet Brachot together, and Daf Samech Aleph, how Moshe Rabbeinu also had a very similar experience when he went up to get the Torah. The Gemara says in Masechet Menachot and Daf Chavtet that Moshe Rabbeinu saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu making tagim, ktarim leotiyot, making the crowns for the otiyot of the Torah that you see in the Sefer Torah. And he said, Mima'kev al yadcha, what are these crowns of the otiyot? And Hashem said, oh, because la'atid lesof kama dorot, there's going to be in future a person, and Akiva ben Yosef Shemo, his name is going to be Akiva ben Yosef, Rabbi Akiva, and he is going to explain tilim shel halachot on every kotz vekot, and every one of these tagim is going to have truckloads of halacha, the secrets, the deep inyanim and secrets of the Torah is going to explain from every one of these tagim. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, wow, I want to see him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed him the Beit Midrash of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is sitting and darshing, and Moshe Rabbeinu was so impressed, almost depressed, seeing the tremendous. He says, "You have a person like this. You're giving the Torah through me. Give it through him." And HaKadosh Baruch Hu then said, "Well, you showed me the Torah of Rabbi Akiva. Show me his sachar." And HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed him the Romans combing with the flesh of Rabbi Akiva with iron combs, the way he was tortured to death. And Moshe Rabbeinu challenged that. He said, "Zu Torah v'zu schara." This is the Torah. This is its schar. And Hashem told him, "Shtok, be quiet." Kach ala b'machshava lefanai. This is, you don't understand it, basically. Now, this is very similar to that, but this happened by Adam HaRishon many generations before, and perhaps what Adam HaRishon said is a little bit more interesting than the reaction of Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's learn this Gemara together and contrast it, and then we'll say something amazing from the Midrash in the name of the Ben Ish Chai. Says the Gemara, he got upset, got saddened. You see the difficult ending of Rabbi Akiva. Amar, Adam HaRishon said, "Veli ma yakru re'acha el," which is a pasuk in Tehillim. It says, "Veli ma yakru re'acha el, ma atzmu rashehem." So the translation of this, based on the David, will be, yakar is a very interesting word. Yakar could mean precious, right? But also could mean heavy, and it could also mean, hard to find and ambiguous. And re'ah also is a very ambiguous word. It could mean a friend, like re'ehu a'adu after re'acha kamocha. Also could mean re'acha ra'ayon, your thought process, right? So it could mean veli ma yakru re'acha kel. That's, for me, your thought process is so heavy, so deep. I can't understand it. I don't see how this comes from this. He learns the Torah like this, the Torah of Rabbi Akiva, compared with the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, everything that we have, all the bright Tosefta, Safra, Sifri, Mishtayot, everything is Vekulan, Aliba de Rabbi Akiva, the Gemara says, and yet, that's the ending. I don't understand. So that, in contrast with Moshe Rabbeinu, who challenged the decision of Hashem, it says, Zu Torah v'zu schara, exclamation mark, and Hashem had to say, Shtok. This is a more complete answer from Adam HaRishon saying, wow, I don't understand how this goes. It's deeper than my understanding, is over my head. But also you could say, Ma yakru re'acha kel, means it is so precious, the re'ah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so beloved to me. Or it is so difficult to see the ending, yakar means heavy, to see the ending of your friends, Hashem. Now, re'ah, I explained this, my understanding, this is my thoughts, I haven't seen it yet brought in any, I'm sure people do talk about this, but what's the difference between chaver and re'ah? Right? Chaver and re'ah, there's two words in Lashon HaKodesh for friends, but they of course are different because there are synonyms in Lashon HaKodesh. So re'ah to me it seems like is more than just a regular for friend. Chaver comes from the language of chibur, you're connected to each other. You have friendship. Re'ah means you're connected so much as re'ah, ra, that you are even open in your, deepest secrets. You're so close. You're so close, you're equals. You could talk in even uncomfortable things. You could say something that they're not doing right to them in milashon ra. And that's close friends. Now, why this about Rabbi Akiva? I mean, Hashem showed probably the ending, the tragic ending of a lot of people, including Holocaust Chachamim, to Adam HaRishon. But I only said this about Rabbi Akiva. Perhaps this is because Rabbi Akiva is the one that darshaned that Talmidei Chachamim are comparable with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We spoke about the fact that Shimon HaAmsuni darshaned all of the etim Shabbat Torah. Whenever it says et, says Shimon HaAmsuni is coming to add something. And until he got to et Hashem Elokecha Tira. So et Hashem Elokecha Tira, what are you going to add to Yirat Hashem? Oh, you have to fear only Hashem. What do you mean, Et Hashem Elokecha Tira? And he dropped his whole ma'alech, his whole drasha. They told him, oh, you worked so many years to explain every single et that's in the Torah. He said, Moshe kibalti sachar al hadirisha, just like I accepted sachar on darshaning. This is too hard, too difficult. What are you going to add to Yirat Hashem? I'm going to add that you have to fear somebody else besides Hashem. I'm going to accept sachar ala prisha. I'm removing myself from this drasha until Rabbi Akiva came, says the Gemara, and he said, Et Hashem Elokecha Tira, or ve'ahavta Et Hashem Elokecha, is adding Talmidei Et lerabot Talmidei Chachamim, that you have to have reverence from carriers of Torah, from Talmidei Chachamim. That's what Rabbi Akiva darshaned. And Rabbi Akiva was the one that created this equation between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Talmidei Chachamim, that they are the extension of Hashem. So he's the one that made the Talmidei Chachamim Re'acha Kel, your friends, your equals HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Adam HaRishon said, this is difficult to see the ending of Rabbi Akiva in this way. Now, something very interesting that Ben Yehoyada does not discuss this here, discusses it in Masechet Brachot, Daf Samech Aleph. He says what happened exactly with Rabbi Akiva is very questionable halachically, because we learned in Masechet Brachot that they were combing his flesh with masrekot shel barzel, with the iron combs, and he was accepting Malchut Shamayim. He was saying Shema Yisrael. He was saying Shema Yisrael, and then the Talmidim, students, said, Ad Kan, until now, you're mechuyav to do this? With amidst such a Yisurim, you're saying Shema? And Rabbi Akiva said, what do you mean? Kol yamai nistarti al mikraze. All of my days, I thought to myself, and I had a hard time thinking, can I actually do this? But I say, Bechol nafshecha, afilu lo telet nafshecha, you have to love Hashem with all of your soul, even if He takes your life. Can I actually do that? And achshav sheba leyadi, now that I have the opportunity, lo akayemena, I'm not going to do it. Unbelievable. But says the Ben Ish Chai, a technical problem. So basically, you're saying Shema, you can't talk in the middle. When is this conversation happening? They're torturing him. He's accepting Malchut Shamayim, and says the Gemara, Yatzta nishmato be'ehad. His neshama came out, actually died, saying Ehad. So when was this conversation happening? You can't stop in the middle of Shema. We learned that in Masechet Brachot, we learned it in the Shulchan Aruch together. So says the Ben Yehoyada, you have to understand the whole story based on a Midrash. Midrash Rabbah and Mishlei. Midrash says in Mishlei that the story happened that he was taken captive on Chodesh Elul, and he died on Yom Kippurim, that we know. Right? But he was taken captive almost the whole month before. It was in Chodesh Elul. And every day, says the Midrash, they would bring him and judge him and torture him in front of the Roman emperor, in front of the Caesar. And they would comb his flesh every day, torturing him. And he would say Shema, because from the intensity of Yisurim, he thought he's going to die. So he would say Shema every single day. And then, after they were done with him every day, the Talmidim would come and say, At Kan. And he would say these conversations happened, you know, in the place that they tortured him, after they would let him be, you know, when they were done torturing him every day, that's when Talmidim had a minute or two before they took him back to his cell to converse with him. And he was one of the Talmidim that would come every day, bring water and food for him. He would use half of the water to wash Netilat Yadayim, and so on. And it says he died on Yom Kippur. That day, none of the Talmidim were there, because it was Yom Kippur, he was fasting, no need for water and food for him. So they were all davening. He was, you know, alone. And they brought him out and they did this torture, and he actually died. Says, and then his body they threw in the jail again. They didn't want, they banned anyone to come and take his body. They wanted to keep and hold on to his body. Miraculously, his student was notified by Eliyahu Navi, and they came and they took the whole miracle. This entire Midrash in Mishlei, beautiful, painful, but beautiful Midrash. So, but that explains this question of when this conversation actually took place with Rabbi Akiva. Nevertheless, says the Gemara, V'amar Rabbi Yossi. So this is, by the way, an indication that Hashem showed Adam HaRishon the generation of Rabbi Akiva. So that means the generation of Rabbi Akiva was supposed to happen already from when? Adam HaRishon. So how can you say that they would have to have no children after accepting the Torah? You see that they would have had children because Adam HaRishon already saw all of these generations. And on top of that, says the Gemara, V'amar Rabbi Yossi, En ben David ba ad sheichlu neshamot shebaguf. Mashiach would not come until all the neshamot that were created in Sheshet Yimei Bereshit would actually be finished coming down to this world. Guf is not the guf of a person. There is an otzar of neshamot that divides between HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Kisah Kavod and the Malachim, the world of Malachim. That's an otzar of the neshamot, which is closer to Hashem than the Malachim are even. And that otzar, that container, so to speak, of neshamot is called guf. And Mashiach would not come until all of these neshamot would be actually put in actual bodies in the world, be born in this world. So it says, the Tosafot over here deals with whether or not the Goyim have neshama. It's a very interesting, a debatable, interesting topic, whether or not the Goyim have neshama. They have Tzelem Elokim, don't have Tzelem Elokim. They used to have the Tzelem Elokim, and you lost it. A very fascinating topic by itself, but nevertheless, the Gemara says, all this neshamot have to come to the world. You can't just stop it by Matan Torah because they accepted the Torah. The world cannot come to an end, cannot come to its perfection until all these neshamot are born in the world. So says the Gemara, Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Ki lo leolam ari v'lo lanesach ekzof, ki ruach milefanai ya'atof, uneshamot ani asiti. Says the HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ya'atov is really a reference to Mashiach. It says it cannot come until the neshamot ani asiti. All the neshamot should come down in this world, the neshamot that I have created. Which again, I would take a moment in parentheses to just mention that this is the pasuk that clearly says that neshama is not a piece of Hashem, like some people mistakenly think and say. Hashem has no pieces, and saying that is heresy. Anything that has pieces is not a creator; is a creation. And here the pasuk says clearly that neshama is a creature. Neshamot ani asiti, I created the neshamot. So it cannot be a piece of Hashem if Hashem created it. So Chelek Eloka Mimal is really a pasuk in Iyov that has nothing to do with neshama. It's talking about a portion of a person in the world. Iyov is talking about his lot, his difficult lot and destiny that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him in this world. So Chelek Eloka Mimal is a chelek, your chelek that Hashem has given you in your life. But a few hundred years ago, this was used by some people as a poetic language in regards to neshama, and then the Alter Rebbe of the Chabad, the Baal Tanya, used it in a poetic way as well in one place. But later on, he himself writes that neshama is a creature. Of course, it's not a piece of anything. Neshama is a creature of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's just in parentheses because it's important to note this and to talk about it because of the prevalent mistakes. So says the Gemara, Lo tema anu lo banu leolam ela kemi shelo banu leolam. The Gemara now changes, it drops it. It says, okay, yeah, you're right. It's clear that they would procreate after Matan Torah. Also, so Resh Lakish did not mean to say that we would not be in the world, but he would say we would be in the world, but we would be compared as nothing to our forefathers because they would be so great and so amazing, and we are like so little. We will be like midgets, spiritually speaking. In front of our forefathers, we would be considered nothing because they would not die and they would still be around. Imagine if we would be doing Amud Yomi over here and Moshe Rabbeinu would be teaching next door. It will be nothing compared to the original generation, and therefore, now we have the opportunity to be closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that way. That's what Resh Lakish meant to say. Gemara says, wait a second. Lememra, you want to suggest that ilochat'u lo havu maiti? You want to suggest that if they didn't sin, they would not die? Really? Says the Gemara, v'haketiv. It says in the pasuk, Parashat Yevamot, Parashat Nachalot, talks in the Torah about a person that dies without children, and his brother has to do Yibum. Talks about a person that dies, and you have the Parashat Nachalot, inheritance. These are all mitzvot of the Torah. What do you mean they would not die? Of course they would die. Says the Gemara, Al Tenai. All of these would be written in the Torah. Al Tenai, that means conditional. Which means, yes, if you would accept the Torah, and you would not sin, these parashiyot actually would not be any more relevant because nobody would die anymore. It's al tenai, it's condition. If they didn't sin, it would be not relevant. Now that they sinned, unfortunately, people are still going to die, and therefore those parashiyot of yibum and inheritance and all that is still relevant. Mara says, what? You have a concept of mitzvah al tenai? Since when do you see a mitzvah could be conditional? That if you sin, the mitzvah is going to be relevant. If you don't sin, the mitzvah is not going to be relevant. Seriously? You have this concept al tenai? Mara says, yes. As we have many times learned in different Gemaras, the Hachi Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Resh Lakish also taught, my dichtiv. What's the meaning of the pasuk that says Vahi Arev Vahi Boker Yom HaShishi? By the sixth day of creation, he has an extra Hey Hayediah. Every day of creation, it says Vahi Erev Vahi Boker Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi'i, Yom Chamishi. When it comes to Yom Shishi, it doesn't say Yom Shishi, it says Yom HaShishi, the sixth day. What's the Hey Hayediah pointing to? It's pointing to something. HaShishi, the sixth day. And the Gemara learns, Hashem made the Tenai a condition with all of the creation. Ve'amar, and it said, if the Jews accept the Torah comes the sixth day of Sivan, when the day of Matan Torah was, or was supposed to be. Mutav, then it's good. Then I keep everything going. But if not, if they reject the Torah, I will return all of you, all of the creation, back to nothingness and emptiness. And you see from there that there is a creation that is al tenai. So here also you had a mitzvah. Hashem said, if they accept the Torah and they don't sin, this would not be relevant. But if they do sin, then there will be a concept of death in the world, and that would be relevant. Now the Gemara is going to have a fascinating back and forth, proving from Braitos that the death would have been there even if they did not sin. And the Gemara actually makes that a machloket Tanaim, that you see, this was debated already from the time of Tanaim, earlier on, whether or not death would be relevant or would not be relevant had they not sinned by Chet HaEgel, which is a fascinating ending piece of the Agata that we're going to continue in the days to come. Hazak Baruch.